What do you do when you stand at your own front door on a Sunday evening in August and the car that should be bringing your children home does not come? I know what I did. I called his phone. It went to voicemail. I called it again. I sent a message. I called his mother. I called the number I had for his new address, the one I had been given through the solicitor when he moved, and nobody answered. I stood at my door for 2 hours because I could not bring myself to go inside and accept that the rooms my children were supposed to fill were going to stay empty for another night. The court order said the summer holiday ended on the last Sunday of August. It named the time, 6 o'clock. It named the location, my address. It was a legally binding document issued by a family court judge, and by 8 o'clock on that Sunday evening, every element of it had been ignored. My children were 9 and 11. They were in a house I had not been given the full address of, with a man who had decided that the order did not apply to him. The retention anchor. This was not an isolated incident. The summer was the culmination. In the 6 months before August, he had returned the children late on 14 separate occasions, cancelled 3 contact weekends with less than 24 hours' notice, and once failed to return them until the Monday morning of a school day, claiming he had misread the order. Each incident had been reported. Each report had produced a hearing. Each hearing had produced a warning. The warning had produced the next incident. The system had been managing breaches as individual events rather than as a pattern. That was the thing I had not yet understood how to change. My name is Kate. I had 2 children and a residence order that had been in place for 3 years, confirmed by the family court following our divorce. Their father, I will call him Mark, had parental responsibility and generous contact. Every other weekend, half of all school holidays, Christmas alternating years. He had not accepted the arrangement at any point in the 3 years since it had been ordered. He had accepted it the way a person accepts a rule they intend to work around, as a starting point for negotiation rather than a conclusion. The front door is what I carry from that period, the particular quality of light on a Sunday evening, the way it goes from gold to grey between 6 o'clock and 8 without you noticing the exact moment the day becomes the wrong kind of dark. My solicitor was a woman called Rachel, family law specialist, the kind of person whose emails arrive at 10:30 at night because she is still working and cannot stop. Rachel told me after the summer incident that we needed to change our approach. She said every individual breach is being treated as a one-off. We need to put the pattern in front of a judge in a way that makes the pattern impossible to treat as a series of isolated mistakes. She filed for an enforcement order with an application for committal, a formal process that treats a repeated breach of a court order as contempt, carrying potential custodial consequences, and framed the application around the cumulative pattern of non-compliance rather than the summer incident alone. Mark's solicitor responded by filing a counter-application alleging that I had been obstructing contact during the contact periods and that the children had expressed a preference to remain with their father. A preference. 2 children aged 9 and 11 in a house with the parent who was refusing to return them had apparently expressed a preference to stay. The midpoint arrived when CAFCAS, the service that assesses children's welfare in family proceedings, spoke to both children independently. The report was detailed and specific. It noted that both children had used language in their interviews that was inconsistent with their age and developmental stage, language that appeared to reflect adult framing rather than their own experience. It noted that the older child had asked during the interview whether what they said would get anyone in trouble. It recommended that the court treat the expressed preferences with caution, given the context in which they had been formed. The hearing produced a transfer of residence order, primary residence to me, with supervised contact for Mark pending a welfare review. The children came home on a Thursday in March, 7 months after the Sunday in August. The costly part is the 7 months. My younger child had started a new school year in September without me knowing which teacher she had, which classroom, which friends she was making. My older one had her first period during those 7 months, and I was not there. I know this because she told me plainly about 3 weeks after she came home, in the kitchen while I was making dinner, and I had to keep stirring something so I had a reason not to turn around. Mark has filed an appeal against the residence order. Rachel says it is unlikely to succeed, but unlikely is not the same as impossible, and I have stopped using that word as a source of comfort. The door looks the same. Every other Sunday I am still there at 6 o'clock, waiting. The difference is they come now. They come and they walk in and they drop their bags in the hall in the way that children do when they are home. And I think about the Sunday in August every time, and I do not say anything about it because what would I say? They are here. That is what I have. I am learning to let that be enough.